It's the home of the Ricky Smiley Morning Show. Real. WBHJ Midfield Birmingham. HD1 WALJ Northport Tuscaloosa.
95.7 Jam.
But none of y'all in my rivals. Bad habits in the past. Did it all for survival. Wrong rights, long nights. Trying to read that Bible. But the streets sounded like that's why the show was so vital. Hey, war win is the title. It's Lady Woo. 95.7 here too. We just want to hear from you. So call us up. Stick to the issue. We live at 205. You should not be touching that dial. You pick up the phone, hitting us up, calling us out on the line. What's on your mind? You pick up the phone, calling us up, calling us out on the line. What's on your mind? You pick up the phone, calling us up, calling us out on the line. Vital Show. It's 95.7 here too.
95.7 Jams, that is absolutely correct. This is the Abby Award-winning Vital Show. I'm your host, Lady Woo. One crew member in the building behind me because he didn't get the memo that they could have taken the weekend off. So what's up, Ant?
What's going on? How y'all doing? I'm here, but I'm not here. I'm interning tonight.
Just cannot stay away. Special guest in studio tonight. Tonight is the first edition of What's Your Story. So we have two great stories to tell. Hopefully your radios are turned up. Hopefully you are tuned in on the live. Hey, everybody on the live. And it's going to communicate with you. There are cameras and phones all over the studio if you're watching. So don't be nervous. It's just the same as we do all the time. This is Vital Show. And we get it in. We're just talking about what we're talking about. Hopefully you're taking notes. So we have two gentlemen in studio. We're going to get you both to introduce yourselves first. And then we're going to go back to the first guy that's going to introduce himself starting now.
Me first?
That's your cue.
What's up, everybody? I'm Thomas Beaver, servant leader and senior pastor of New Rising Star Church, a.k.a. the Star in the East, leading people to Jesus Christ on the east side, Birmingham, Alabama, zip code 35206. Beat me to the star.
All right. You got an intro like that?
Not quite like that. My name's Eric Wynn, and I'm with War. We are related. It's everywhere. We want it everywhere. We need it everywhere. It's a movement right now designed to promote love, unity, and peace.
Okay.
And we're excited about it.
Wonderful. So as you hear, this is a lot. This is a heavy show, a lot of information, and a lot of places that you can go, a lot of things that you can be a part of, and a lot to learn. So let's get straight to it. Pastor Thomas Beavers, New Rising Star, a.k.a. the Star. I want to talk about you first. You got that young preacher talk going on. Is that how you talk all the time?
Pretty much. You know, I'm just down to earth. I love God and I love His people. And I believe that you can reach people when you don't try to be above them. You just be who you are.
So you've always been this guy?
Pretty much.
Tell me a little bit about how you started, who you are, where you're from.
Yeah, so born and raised in Birmingham, Alabama. I grew up on the east side. Our church is 54 years old. In 54 years, we've had 4 pastors. I'm the third, and I'm the 4th pastor. My grandfather was the 3rd and longest tenured. So he's Dr. Tommy Chappelle. He pastored for 35 years, from 1975 until May of 2010. When I was a senior in high school, I felt the call of God on my life. But of course, I ran from it. Never wanted to preach. Come from a line of preachers, and you know, I told God, that ain't me. Nevertheless, He called me, and through a series of events, I answered the call, went to school to be a medical doctor, got halfway through school and realized that I had the potential to be a doctor because I could make good grades, but I didn't have the passion. So it was at that moment that I knew I'd be in full-time ministry the rest of my life. I upset my family and made them a little bit mad because I was supposed to be the first doctor in the family. But when I graduated from Kentucky State, instead of me going to medical school, I came back home and enrolled in Beeson Divinity School, Birmingham, Alabama, and the rest is history.
You said you got a call.
Yeah.
Did the phone ring? Or was like this something that you felt on the inside? What was that call like?
Hey, the phone rung and I sent God the voicemail.
He was like, nope.
Yeah. Nah, you got the wrong one. But literally, man, God kept pursuing me and chasing me and nudging me. And when I look back at it now, I think God started calling me as early as the 6th grade, and I just didn't recognize it. I didn't know it. But it was very, very evident when I was a senior in high school, and it was just something that I couldn't get away from.
What is it called, like? Because it's probably somebody out there now that's like, I kind of feel the same way, but I don't know what is that? What is it like? What does it sound like? What does it feel like?
It's different. It's different for everybody.
What happened for you?
You really want to know?
I really want to know. Like, this is your story.
Well, literally, I was riding home from basketball practice at Minor High School, and going up the hill to the house where I live, and in a moment's notice, everything was in slow motion. I don't know what kind of music I had on in my truck, but it wasn't Christian music. And all of a sudden, I could not hear anything. Everything got silent. It was in slow motion, and I literally heard the audible voice of God say, "I'm calling you to preach." And immediately after that, everything was back in regular speed. The music came back on. I had tears coming down my eyes. I got to my house, I wanted to tell my mom, but she wasn't there, so the first person I told was my best friend. I came home, told my mom. Then I told my grandfather, who was my pastor. And I said, Granddad, God called me to preach, but he didn't say when. So he kind of laughed, he chuckled, he said, well, we're going to pray, and you come back whenever you get ready, whenever he tell you when. And so I knew that God was calling me right then, but at that moment I started running. I wasn't a bad kid, but I started doing all kinds of things out of my character to try to prove to God, like, you got the wrong one.
I'm not the one.
Yeah, like I ain't the one.
And he was like, but nah, I don't care what you do. Like, you the one, boy.
Yeah. So I was in a series of 4 car wrecks in the span of 2 months.
Wow.
And 2 of those car wrecks, the car was totaled. You would have thought I was dead, but with every car wreck, I walked out without a scratch on my body. And I could literally hear God saying, "I'm calling you to preach." And then the last car wreck, the voice that I heard from God was, "Preach or die." So I told God, I don't want to die. I surrender. I do whatever you tell me to do.
Wow. How often do you tell that story?
Whenever people ask.
And I'm sure a lot of people, they ask because you're a young pastor.
Yeah.
And they probably ask about, I'm sure, maybe primarily because you're young.
Yeah.
And I see you kind of like, I don't know if that's the light from the light, so if you're tearing up a little bit telling the story again, I don't know what that is. Is that the lights?
It's the lights.
Oh, look at me. Look at me. Okay, but I'm just saying, like, that's a heavy calling. And then to take it on and to pastor a church that your grandfather pastored.
Yeah.
Like, who inherits a whole church? Like, how does that happen?
Man, it was totally God. I never looked at pastor, and if I ever did pastor, I didn't think that I would pastor the church that my grandfather pastors. But it's been a wonderful transition. Change takes place in a moment. Transition is mental. Change is physical, so it happens in a moment. Transition is mental, so it happens over time. So the moment we made the change, that happened, but it took about 5 to 7 years for our church to actually catch up to what had actually happened. I was 28 years old when it happened, and now I'm 35.
Okay. So within those years, you talk about leading a church, and a lot of people that listen probably don't even go to church. They don't even know what it's like to be at the church.
Yeah.
So what do you mean catch it up? What had to happen for you to help catch the congregation up with what was happening?
Well, anytime a church transitions, anytime an organization transitions leadership, it's a very, very tedious time, a very, very tedious moment. People trying to figure out, should I leave? Should I stay? What new vision is this person bringing to the table? I don't even know if I want to be here no more. I was loyal to the other leader. Do I want to pledge my loyalty to this leader?
Right.
Ultimately, my loyalty to God. But do I want to be here? So what I did is, instead of focusing on what would be different, I focused on what was going to remain the same. Even though I knew things would be different, to create a climate of stability, I focused on what would be the same. So I told our church there are 3 things that would never change. And that is, God will never change, His word will never change, and the vision of the church will never change. Other than that, methods may change. When you look in the Bible, you look at Moses and Joshua. Joshua took over for Moses, but in spite of that, there were 3 things that didn't change. The vision didn't change. Under Moses, it was to get the people from Egypt to the promised land. Moses fell short of the promised land. Joshua got the baton. He didn't go in the opposite direction, but he went further in the same direction. So I told the church, the vision of my grandfather was to save souls. So now that I'm the pastor, guess what? I'm taking that baton. We're not going in the opposite direction, but we're going further in the same direction. So the vision was the same. Then I talked about how God was the same. If you look in the book of Joshua, God said to Joshua, "As I was with Moses, I was with you. Or I'll be with you."
Right.
So I told people the same God of Dr. Tommy Chappelle is the same God of Thomas Beavers. And then last but not least, I told people, the word will never change. God said, "This book of the law won't depart from your mouth. You'll meditate day and day and night. Observe to do according to all that's written in it. To make a way prosperous, have good success." So the same book that Moses used is the one that Joshua used. So I said the same Bible that my grandfather lived from and preached from is the same one that I'm using as well. I'm going to live from it. I'm going to preach from it. Other than that, some methods may change because the times may change.
Absolutely.
But those three things will not change.
All right then. Look at them. They're like, we ready to go ahead and sing and open the doors to church. Okay, so a lot of things have happened over those 5 years, and you continue to grow and evolve. Like things have just continued to change also for the church as well. And in the midst of all of that, you've written a book. Where'd you find the time?
Man, it was definitely God inspired. I did a series in June of 2017 entitled The Fight of My Life. And one of the reasons I did it is because God laid it upon my heart. One of my airs as a pastor is that I have so much passion and so much drive, and oftentimes don't realize that the people who help to bring the vision to pass are hurting themselves. And so I took a whole month to minister to hurting people inside of our church and called it The Fight of My Life. And then shortly after that series, God inspired and put it upon my heart. It's not just your church who feels as if I'm in the fight of my life, but people all over the world, whether they are in church, out of the church, or somewhere else, feel as if they're in the fight of their lives, whether it's their marriage, their finance, their children. Many of us, we look good on the outside, but inwardly we're fighting and nobody knows it.
Right.
And one of the worst fights is a silent fight. What happens when I look happy, but I'm really depressed on the inside?
You giving those vibes out. So you wrote about this in a book for everybody.
I did.
Did you use your own story, or did you just kind of use stories from people that you heard?
Well, I use a lot of my personal stories. I'm very transparent in the book.
Okay.
I believe that we overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. The blood of the Lamb has already been shed. The only thing left to do is share our testimony. And so, I use my stories. That's pretty much all that I have. A lot of times people think that pastors don't go through anything.
I don't know why they don't.
Because you're a pastor. I don't know, man. Maybe they think we ain't real people, but pastors are people too.
Yeah, my dad is a pastor.
Wow.
My grandmother's a pastor.
Yeah.
My grandfather was a pastor.
Yeah, wow.
I ain't a pastor. I'm the host of
I don't know, the call might be on you now.
Like how you were.
Hey!
So, you penned the book, and the book is coming out Thursday.
Yeah, we're introducing it to the city of Birmingham, surrounding areas this Thursday. The Fight of My Life Ultimate Experience, 7 p.m. doors open at 6. It's gonna be absolutely amazing. From the time you pull up on the grounds to the time you leave, you're gonna have strength and strategy in order to win the fight of your life. You can't read this book and lose if you apply it to your life.
So, okay, is the book written like where you can take notes, and is it that type of, what type of book is it? Because we have to amp people up to read.
Well, one thing, it's an easy read.
Okay.
So that's a blessing. It's not a long read. It's an easy read. You can read it probably in about 2 days, 2 to 3 days. Yeah, if you stick to it. So it'll really be a blessing to your life.
Okay, and then once you read it, you can pass it along and help somebody else to get through the fight of their life as well.
There you go.
All right, so when you think about how people are going to respond, what are you looking for? What do you want people to get from the fight of your life?
I want people to get strength. I want people to get strategy.
Strength and strategy.
Strength and strategy. I give biblically based principles to give people strength and strategy to help them to win. And I use the analogy of a boxer. Before a boxer gets into the ring, they got to trim the fat. And that requires rigorous exercise, but it also requires the right diet. And many Christians and many people are trying to win the fight of their lives, but we're out of shape. And we're not just out of shape physically, we're out of shape spiritually because we do not eat right. The only time we read the Word of God, since the Word of God is our diet, is when we go to church. Yet when we eat physically, we eat 3 times a day. So we're out of shape because we don't eat right, and then we're out of shape because we don't exercise. So what happens when I'm eating? This is for the person who go to church. I hear sermon after sermon, message after message, tape after tape, but I never put it into practice. So now I become spiritually obese because I'm eating, but I'm not exercising. So many people are not winning the fight of their lives because we're out of shape. And in order to get in shape, you got to trim the fight. You got to trim the fat. So you got to have a steady diet of the Word of God. But on top of having a steady diet of the Word of God, you got to put into practice. Coming to church doesn't make us better. It does not. But applying what we hear in the church is what makes us better.
Amen. Can I get an amen in studio?
Amen.
Okay, so your contact information about the church, about the book, about Thursday.
Yes, if you want to get the book, log on to 2020life.org. www.2020life.org. 2020 Life is my personal ministry. I believe that I exist to help people see life clearly. And this Thursday, all roads lead to the star. I don't know what you're doing, but whatever you're doing, you need to stop it. All roads lead to the star. 7 p.m. Doors open at 6. 7400 London Avenue South, zip code 35206. I hope you already got your ticket because the tickets are gone.
Okay. But the doors of the church will be open.
The doors of the church are open.
So you've heard about it. You've heard about the fight right here on Vital. This is a very vital What's Your Story. So thank you so much for sharing your story.
Thank you.
And we're looking forward to people sharing their story from your story when they get the book. We
Thank
want a
you.
book report. We want 2 pages, double space.
Ah.
All right. Thank you. Stick around.
Yeah.
In order to fight, in order to go to war, you have to have strength and you have to have a strategy.
Yeah.
So our next guest is going to talk to us about what war really stands for and what his story is, how this all came about. You're listening to Vital 95.7 Jams, the What's Your Story show. It's a Vital show, Abby Award winning, Lady Wu. What's Your Story segment tonight? We have special guests in studio. Thanks for that intro. Street said, I love that intro. It's Corey Savage. Everyone loves that one, so thank you for that, Corey. So we just heard from Pastor Thomas Beavers from New Rising Star over in East Lake, talking about the new book release that will go down Thursday evening at the church, The Fight of Your Life. And we know a lot of people that have had some fights, like some real life fights that changed their whole situation. And some people just, they get beat up and they stop. Other people take those fights that they fought and they win. They keep going and they try to share. Eric Wynn is here because he's winning. He's really fighting, and he's fighting through an organization that he founded called WAR. Welcome.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here with you, Ms. Wu.
It's an honor to have you. So we've been seeing you. We've been seeing you for a minute working and moving around the community, and we've been seeing these shirts. Everybody has these shirts, and they're different colors, and they say WAR on the front. So some people, they don't know how to feel about it. They don't know if they're intimidated. They don't know if they want to ask what's up. So I was like, well, let's just tell them.
Nothing to be intimidated about. War is something that is for everyone, and it's hard to explain because anytime you have an organization or a foundation, there are stipulations.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a certain set of rules or guidelines or operating procedures.
Mm-hmm.
With war, it's really it's a simple message. It's love, unity, and peace. That's what this message is about. It's about us going into the communities, going into the schools, and spreading that message, getting everybody on the same page.
I went with you Friday, and you were saying you wanted the whole city to be in uniform. What is that about?
We believe with this message, putting the city in uniform is the only way to create unity. We've never seen unity in our society, and because it's no uniform. When you see unity is when you see uniform, like police officers, or like Alabama. You go to an Alabama football game, and you go in the stands, everybody got on that crimson and white. And you don't have to talk to them. You don't have to say, hey, what does that shirt mean? That you know what it means. You know what it represents. When you see an officer of the law, Birmingham police officer, you know what that uniform means. I like to use the analogy of a McDonald's employee. A job that some people might consider real simple. But you can't clock in unless you got that shirt on. You know, you can be late. You know, you can come to work drunk. But you can't come to work unless you got that uniform on.
You must have on
When black people stuck together in the 60s and 70s, that was the uniform. It was racial tension in Alabama and Birmingham. And black people stuck together because uniform. When gangs, the notorious gangs in the 90s, when they wore red, when the Bloods wore red every day, they stuck together. Even if, you know, some people, you know, that's a negative way of looking at it. But what we're trying to do is get kids, the youth. We feel like the youth is lost right now, and they need direction. They need guidance. So this movement is just think, if we can go into all the schools and we go get the small children and we raise them up on this message, nothing else, love, unity, and peace. Love yourself, love your brother. I think we promote violence. We promote violence. We teach violence. One of the things I like to do when I go into schools is ask kids, like, how many of you, your mom told you if somebody hit you, hit them back? That's what's being taught in the homes in Kingston and Gate City and Avondale. So when you see communities like those violent, then we know that it's being taught in the home at an early age.
Right.
So how we counter that is to teach love. I never seen a movement, I never seen an organization or anything that just love. That's it.
That's the
That's
only
all
message.
it is we brothers, you know, and we brothers and sisters in your case. And so I think we have to break it down to the simplest form.
So when you were taught, what did you learn? How did this all come together for you? I know you have a story behind how war even came to you. You said things were taught in the homes, and we're getting out and we're repairing what's not being taught. What were you taught?
I was taught if somebody hit you, hit them back. Growing up in Kingston, I was born in Kingston, a real violent community, violent neighborhood, and single parent. And my mom, I remember vividly, if somebody hit you, hit them back.
Knock the hell out of them.
I remember the wars between my family and the families like the House of the Hundreds and stuff like that, notorious families from Kingston. And it's always the same philosophy or method, attack, aggression with our youth in these environments. I think the role of the father is missing in our communities. When you think about violent communities like Gate City, Collegeville, Titusville, what strike you in these communities? Well, they're kids that are being raised by single parents, just mother, and there's no fathers. And so when I think about the role of the father, the most important role in to guide the child, and that role being taken from the homes in these communities, and then so you understand why these communities are so violent. So it's not so much the absence of the presence of the Father in heaven that's missing from these communities, because God is everywhere. It's the absence of the Father on earth. And until these kids have guidance, then you're going to continue to see violence.
So you know that we need that guidance on earth. So that's where you came in. How was war born though? Like, what is the backstory to how this even came about?
And it's crazy because war and this message and this movement was created at one of the most dangerous, violent environments in our society, in our nation. St. Clair Correctional Facility, 2015, one of the most violent prisons in America. I was sentenced to life in prison in 2006 for drug trafficking.
Life for drugs.
Trafficking.
Right.
Life.
Whole life.
A life sentence. No violence. Never been into a fight. You know, grew up in Kingston, Gate City, went to the military, graduated, went to the military, got kicked out of the military for smoking marijuana and leaving during unauthorized absence, and got involved in drugs. I got tasted a little bit of success. The only one in my family to graduate high school, the only way for my family to accomplish something in life. And that feeling, it made me feel good about myself. Then when I got kicked out, I hit a low. And so I was like, what can I do? I can't just go work at McDonald's. I just can't go work, I done been to Paris, France, Portugal, been to war, did all this stuff.
You've been around.
So it's like, what do you do now?
Right.
You find yourself sitting at home in Birmingham, still got a drug, addicted mother, both my brothers in the street, sisters going through, their struggles. And growing up in that drug-infested environment, that's all the only alternative I thought that I knew. I didn't realize I had choices. I said, man, I don't have a choice. I have to sell drugs.
Wow.
Drugs is promoted in my community. It's okay to sell drugs in my community. And so I think just going to prison, being sentenced to life, just waking up and like, how did I end up here? France, Portugal, Greece, Spain, now I'm St. Clair, Kilby, Elmore, Bibb County. What is my life? What is this all about?
Right.
Got to St. Clair, violent institution. The gangs were in control. If you weren't a blood, crip, or disciple, you were dead.
And what year was this?
This was in 2015.
Wow.
A lieutenant had got stabbed and retired, and he was like all the discipline at the institution. So once he retired, just all the officers kind of just shut down, and so gangs took over. if you stabbed an individual at St. Clair in 2015, they went to lockup. They punished the person you stabbed because you couldn't come back out in the population because the gangs would punish you for telling on who stabbed you. My brother was one of the leaders of the Bloods, and they stayed into growing up in Gay City, growing up in Kingston, same store. He got a life sentence just like me for drug trafficking. But the only difference was, growing up, he joined Bloods. I didn't. I did not. So when he came to prison in St. Clair, that culture, that gang culture, even though it died down on the street, it was heavy in prison.
Right.
And so he found himself in a lot of altercations, stabbings. When I got there, actually, he was in lockup for stabbing an individual 17 times.
Your brother was incarcerated while you were as well.
While I was at the same institution.
Wow.
And so when he got out of lockup, because the guy that they allegedly stabbed got out the hospital and he went to lockup. So they let my brother out, and it was a lot of strife, a lot of beef between the gangs. And I can remember sitting in my cell and just thinking about the madness. Thinking about, like, look, this ain't even real. This ain't even life.
It's a life that was made there.
It's an experience where it couldn't have been nothing but God. Like, how did I make it out of here? I'm not in no, I'm like the friendliest person on earth. Like, what
am I doing here?
What am I doing here?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody here is in a gang. You know, everybody here is violent. Everybody here, they believe in violence. So how did I get here? You know, and that's just, I think those cells and, spending time alone in those cells and just thinking about life. And that's where war was born. The concept of war. You got guys from different parts of Alabama in prison, claiming a gang, at odds with each other. When at the end of the day, we brothers, man. I used to literally go into Crip meetings. I used to literally go into Blood meetings. I used to literally go into Disciple meetings and talk to those guys. They'd be like, "What you doing? You ain't supposed."
Because I had going on inside.
I had relationships with somebody from Blood, my brother, somebody from Crip, somebody from Disciple. And sometimes it was like, y'all were just sitting here talking in the chow hall. Now you just stabbed this individual.
Wow.
And it's going on every day as a stabbing.
So the mentality is just so warped there.
It's
a different mentality. Do you kind of see the similarities now though with what's happening outside in the
It's
streets?
the same way. It's the same way. I like to reference Cain and Abel. The first murder in the Bible were brothers. And so we understand that brothers will kill brothers. And you see it every day in Birmingham. And that's the difference. That's what we have to do. We have to get our city to look like Mount Brook, where they don't bury their sons in Mount Brook. It hasn't been a murder in Mount Brook in 20 years. So what's the difference between Mount Brook and the inner city in Birmingham? Well, fathers, the lack of fathers, the lack of guys. Our youth is lost because they go through struggles. I went through stuff as a child, and I didn't understand. And I became violent. So it was a process that I had to go through. So now that I'm here, I understand. I know what you're going through. When I go to them schools and I talk to those kids, I know exactly what they go through.
I've been here.
I am that child.
There we go. So you put it in action.
Right.
Not just on the front of a shirt, but you actually put it in action. When I walked in Friday, I thought I was walking into a detention center. I was like, well, did I come in the wrong room? Because the approach, tell us a little bit about the approach when you get into the school system with the students. What is the approach? I'm not playing.
Love.
It's love, but it's that I'm not playing what you love.
No, it's not that. It's that I'm not playing with you, love. It's that I'm your big brother, love.
Right.
It's that whatever you got to talk about, you can talk to me about it. I'm going to talk to you. I'm going to get personal with you. I'm going to interfere with you. I'm going to build relationships. That was about. This movement isn't about to go to a school and then leave and never come back. It's designed to build a relationship.
I heard that 3 times. Like, y'all coming back?
Yes.
He gonna come back. He told you he was coming
They
back.
want us to come back. I want to go back Monday and just walk through and just get names. I get more excited going and talking to the youth than the kids. It's something that I would pay to do. Like, it's so rewarding. It's spiritually rewarding.
So you would pay to go in?
I actually do, actually. Like, when we go to schools and we give out shirts, that come out of our pocket. We're not federally funded, or we're not funded by the government. I live a real modest life because of this movement.
Tell me about it.
I'm excited about it.
But it feels good to be putting your life to work. So they tried to take it and just lock it up somewhere. You were like, no.
I can explain it so simple. My twin brother was murdered.
Your twin brother.
My oldest brother had life and 90 in prison. I have a life sentence in prison. So my mom's 3 boys are affected by death and prison. This movement is designed to stop people from what? Dying, from going to prison. So you know why I'm passionate. I don't want my brother to die because I lost my twin brother. I love my twin brother more than anything because my mom was on drugs. I didn't have a father. So my twin brother was all I had. We was like best friends. We was just like, so the passion, you know, the pain turned into passion.
Every day when you wake up, what?
War. War. Stop these kids from dying. I did it. I went to prison. I can't let nobody else go. My twin brother, ain't nobody else finna go through what I go through. My mama know what it feels like to bury son. Nobody else. We all got to be on that mission. Because that's the #1 issue in our community. That should be the #1 priority. Brothers dying. Brothers going to prison. What else can you be more passionate about if you're African, growing up in Gate City, growing up in Kingston, where 4-year-olds get hit by straight bullets? So this, put everything else aside.
You're sitting next to a young man, another young man who has a church that's not too far.
Not too far.
So you're hearing the stories, you're seeing the people that, you're seeing this. You all are seeing the same things basically in the same area. Probably around the same age.
Close. I'm a little older.
Something like that. So the difference in the story is what?
No difference. God got him doing something, leading people. Love. God got me doing something, leading people. Love. It's like one of my favorite verses, and I think it's John 10:11 is, I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd gives his life for the sheep. I think what Mr. Beaver does is give his life for the sheep, for the lost. When we talk about sheep, we talk about a people that's in a sheepish state of mind. And sometimes, more often than none, you find that in children that need guidance, that need a shepherd. When the scripture says, I am the good shepherd, that means that if there's a good shepherd, that means there's a bad shepherd.
Yeah.
And what I get from that scripture is we have bad influence or bad guidance. And it's too much bad. It's not enough Thomas Beavers in our community. It's not enough Eric Wynn with War in our community. It's too much bad guidance in Gate City, Kingston, Avondale. So for every Thomas Beavers we have 30 guys as bad shepherds. And the one thing about a bad shepherd is, whether you're good or bad, they're following you.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Just because you're a bad shepherd, these kids are following you. They're looking at you. They're paying attention to you. Whatever you do, they're going to do.
So setting a good example.
Right.
Mr. Beavers.
Yeah, so what I would say to that is that, you know, what it says to me is that no one organization can change it. No one church can change it. No one man can change it. But it really takes us all working together. So, you know, this is not about a clique. This is not about competing with each other. But I see Eric's work as complementing what we do, and our work is complementing what he does.
Absolutely. So brothers and sisters coming together to try to impact the part of the world that they can, whatever part that is. So in your pursuits, what are some of the difficulties?
You go.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think the difficulties are evident, man. Our church is located in the mission field. 35206, 35212. It's high crime, it's high poverty. When people don't have what they need, they take it by any means necessary. I believe the two are interrelated, which is also related to a disparity in the educational system. So when kids grow up and they do not get a good education, if they do get a job, they become a part of the working poor, and they have to climb high just to get to the bottom.
Absolutely.
So I'm already in a struggle. I'm working and I have nothing to show for it, and I'm going to get it one way or the other. So because I don't have it, I'm going to take it. So really the struggle is not necessarily, part of it is the heart of man, but the other part of it is the system. Like we just celebrated MLK. We got civil rights, but the system is still jacked up.
And the system is going to be the system because the system is a system. So until you infiltrate a system, you have to create your own. I know you were working to open a school.
Yeah.
So you talk about education and how important that is to you. So instead of just trying to get in, you know what, I'm going to just make me one.
Yeah.
But you hit some roadblocks with that.
Yeah, here's some roadblocks. You know, a lot of people don't want you to. It's amazing to me. Some of the very people who tell you, you know, dream big, there's nothing you can't do as you're growing up, and they raise you and mentor you, are the same people that when you have a dream too big, they tell you you shouldn't be doing that.
They get into
You
the
know.
system.
You know, stay in your place.
Uh-huh.
But a lot of times, man, what I've come to realize is that my dream ain't too big. Your vision just too small.
What?
I like that.
Okay, right. So dreaming big and then making that dream be a reality and hitting roadblocks does not mean that that's the end.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that it's the end. You know, one of my favorite movies is The Lion King. When you think about the main character, his name is Simba. He was said to be the heir to the throne of his father's kingdom in a land called Pride Rock. But ultimately, it was his own uncle by the name of Scar that ran him away.
Mm-hmm.
So he had a dream of being king. He voiced his dream. He started out by singing a song, you know, someday I'm going to be king. And his uncle Scar got jealous. And he ended up going after him because scarred people scar other people. So instead of him overcoming the opposition, he ran away from his opposition. Then he started hanging out with the wrong crowd. He's a lion, but he's hanging out with pigs and hyenas. So he's hanging out with unclean animals. He's hanging out with animals that do not take life serious. But nevertheless, one day he ran into a brook, which is a body of water, and saw his reflection. The brook is symbolic of the book. The book, the Bible, is designed to show you who you are. And when he ran into the brook and saw his reflection, eventually he was able to overcome his opposition and his dream was fulfilled. So whenever you have a God-given dream, you're going to experience opposition, but you got to push through it.
So basically what you're saying is a lot of times we don't know who we are. And Eric, you spoke about that. Not knowing who we are. We'll walk in the room where we all look alike. And I don't just mean complexion. I just mean human beings. We look alike. We won't speak. We won't acknowledge each other. We have no concern for each other. But we do have people that are very much concerned. You wake up, war.
Wake up.
Like this is top of the day. This is end of the night, war. But in between time, is it ever so overwhelming because you know that I can only impact this much?
It's always overwhelming. I'm so passionate about what I do, and whenever I get resistance, it's disheartening.
Who do you get resistance from?
The people in the community most it's like if you go to a school and you talk to kids and you tell them, hey, you know, this is a message that's designed to get you to love your brother. We all relate. But when they go home and their mother has a boyfriend that comes over and he's in the gang or he's got a gun, and so the kid is gonna, whoever he's around the most.
Right.
And we have a lot of children in our city, but we don't have a lot of positive role models in our city. So that's like the biggest resistance, is like there's not enough of us, and there's not enough of us working together. I think what Mr. Beaver said, as far as, you know, not one organization, war can't do anything by itself.
Right.
You know, war is going to need 95.7 Jams. War is going to need Pastor Beavers and his influence in our community. It's going to need resources in order for us to really make an impact on these kids' life. And, you know, you just got to stay optimistic. No matter what resistance you might face, I think I understand that what I'm doing, God got me doing, because I can't stop it. You know, I can't stop it. Anytime you're in the business of trying to reach kids or, you know, reach the youth and change the way they think, that's important, because the youth is so important. So, you know, I get resistance, I get tired. We need help. We need people who want to be a part of this movement. It's a lot of children. It's a lot of children. You've seen it yourself. We spoke to 300 kids at Ossiware. And it's like, that's just a small fraction of...
Right, the whole city.
I mean, just the outlook.
Right.
And so it's just a lot of work to do.
It's a lot of work. And as we say, the laborers are few.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of people who are interested in being a part of the solution. We know what the problems are. We know that there are many problems. We know that, you know, a lot of things you can't fix. My grandmother cried today in church about what happened over at Carver High School, and she often has these emotional, outs about what's happening and how our children need to be saved. And a lot of times it's very discouraging, because the more work we put in, it's like the more results you see broadcasted, like on the news and different places, that show the negative. But there are some positive things happening.
Right.
happening. There are positive things happening. There are positive things happening. There are still students who make all A's and B's. There are still students who cherish their family. There are still good people. There are still good children being raised and being born. But then there are those who need our special attention. So before we get out of here, how can people find you? How can they help you?
Pretty much, I'm everywhere. I'm not somebody that's hard to find. We have a website. I don't even know how to get it on the website. I'm on social media.
Right.
I'm not a big, just give you my number.
Right, find me.
Find me. I mean, you know how to find me. You know how to find me. I'm everywhere. Where am I not? So it's about people just taking the initiative and say, hey, look, I want to be a part of this.
So you want them to call your cell phone?
I want them to call my cell phone. I want them to send me a message on Facebook. I want them to do whatever they can to get in touch. Walk around the corner to my house. I don't know
However
you get that.
Don't
Right.
go to the
Send me a kite and a message in a bottle. I don't care how you do it.
What's your number?
205-427-4764.
They're about to blow you up.
Blow me up.
His battery
205-427-4764. Call me. I am your brother. I love it. I love you. I love you.
That's the Beavers.
Yeah, you can get in touch with me, www.nrschurch.org. You can call the church office during normal business hours, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 4:30 p.m., 205-833-3676. And you can get in touch with me via Facebook /Pastor Beavers, Twitter /Pastor Beavers, Instagram @Pastor Beavers.
That's what's up.
And you can catch them every Sunday at New Rising.
Beat him now. That's like you gotta get in where you fit in.
Yeah,
We're gonna
that's my
drop
brother,
in
man.
here. Check this out. On Tuesday at 6 p.m., Vital will be doing like just a mini live conversation at Miles College. We'll be there. If y'all want to come and be a part of that and just talk to the young people,
Yes.
the college students, and then just exchange ideas. We're talking about current events. What we do right here on the show, we talk about local and national news, whatever it may be. We talk about the president. We talk about legislation. We talk about the issues. We empower. We inspire. We do all that. So we're going to do that Tuesday at 6 on the campus of Miles College. Come through. I ain't no cover. And then, what else is happening? There are a lot of things happening. Where will you be next?
Parker High School, Wylam K through 8. Wylam K through 8.
My grandmother integrated that school, the one that I just talked about. The first black to walk up in the school.
Wow. So I'm excited.
Should be. Thursday.
Yeah, Thursday, January the 25th. It's going to be amazing. Doors open at 6. Starts at 7 p.m. Get ready to laugh. Get ready to cry. Get ready to gain strength and strategy. You're going to win the fight of your life. I'm going to see to it.
So we have been very much taken care of by these young men who have decided to devote their lives to everyone and everything else that needs their attention. We should give them that same attention when they ask for it. They just ask for it. So Thursday, anywhere in these streets, find Eric Wynn and War. Get you a shirt, get a uniform. We're all related. Are you selling the shirts?
We're selling. We actually give them out to school students, but we sell them. If we can't sell them, we can't give them out. So in order, like when you buy a shirt, we're able to give out 3. When you buy a Tommy Hilfiger shirt, he don't give out 3 Tommy Hilfiger shirts. I promise. When you buy a Ralph Lauren shirt, he don't give out 3. We go to schools. We gave out maybe 80 shirts at Osseware Middle School Friday. We want every student in every school to get a shirt. So we're going to need funding for that. So we're going to need you guys to buy them shirts, buy them hoodies, hats, whatever.
Okay. War Day coming soon, so that way you'll know. War Day. Yeah, so that means you got work to do.
We all relate, and I just probably set some on fire, y'all, so I'm gonna get out.
Run, Eric Wynn. Thank you guys so much for tuning in as you do every week right here on 95.7 Jams. We have great people in our community, and this is the platform for you to hear and meet them and be a part of what they have going on. If you have any questions about how to find them, check the live out. Hit me up directly, WooJams@yahoo.com. WooJams@yahoo.com. If you know somebody who needs their story told, this is the platform. What's your story? Every first and third Sunday right here on 95.7 Jams. Vital. On next week, the crew will be back. Last week was the Abby, it wasn't the Abby Awards. It was the Vital Awards, sponsored and hosted by the Abby Award-winning Vital show. It was pretty dope. So yeah, see you guys next Sunday. You all stay encouraged. Keep doing what you're doing. We'll check in and see how things have progressed later on in the year. Enjoy the rest of your week, everyone.